The criminal justice system is not very fair to the people of color and or people who could not buy their way out of trouble.
Us out of this unfair system of mass incarceration.
We live in a nation that has a criminal justice system that treats you better if you're rich and guilty than poor and innocent.
We say we're about liberty and justice for all, but we have a savagely unjust system.
Do you think people that are in poverty are more likely to go to jail than the average businessmen and women?
Well, I don't just think it. I'm pretty certain statistics show us that that is true. And it is because our criminal justice system appears to be rigged to help people that have the means to pay for attorneys, the means to pay for fines.
We are looking at how poverty affects the criminal justice system. When you don't have enough money to get a lawyer, you get a public defender. Public defenders do not have that much time for each case. While some mistakes are bigger than others, there should be a fair trial and fair process for people who do make those bigger mistakes.
The criminal justice system has to ensure that people are entitled to a fair trial. That goes from everything from making sure that the people that are judging the evidence are open-minded, don't have any predispositions to race or guilt or other biases. It's a really difficult system.
The 2010 Act was an act that tried to make the time you spend in jail equivalent to how bad the crime was. The 2010 Act was put into effect, but it didn't work. The act failed because the things they tried to fix weren't clear, so it was never put to its true use.
We saw Democrats and Republicans come together at the White House. It was December of last year that the First Step Act.
The First Step Act is an act where it reduces mandatory sentencing guidelines for certain drug felonies, allows judges greater latitude in sentencing non-violent drug offenders, and makes retroactive the Fair Sentencing Act of 2010 and expands prison employment programs.
Taking office during the last administration was that the White House and the Department of Justice were there to help, not to hurt.
Fair trial. A jury's opinion of you can go either two ways. They can be sided with you or they can be against you. And depending on their opinion of you, you can either be sentenced for longer or for shorter.
Fair sentencing is a major part of the criminal justice system, and most people get arrested for longer times for crimes that aren't that bad. Some drug usage, like crack cocaine, can be sentenced for a longer time than the amount of powder crack cocaine usage. The U.S. sentencing community voted to give criminals who had the use of crack cocaine shorter sentences because they had an unfair trial. Even with the 2010 Act, it didn't do anything to make a major move in the criminal justice system. So ultimately, it was a failure.
Court has given sentences to people because of their race, sexuality, and geographic location.
Here are 50 white guys. Here are 50 black guys. Here's how many white guys can expect to go to prison in their lifetime. The chances amount to 1 out of 17. Now here's how many black guys can expect the same thing. The chances are 1 out of 3.
In our criminal justice system, and that dealt with people that had misdemeanor offenses and nonviolent offenses and being able to get kind of a second chance. I think that's very important. I always talk about criminal justice reform and say that no one can say that they've gone through their life without ever making a mistake. Some mistakes are bigger than others, obviously, but the ability to allow for a second chance, I think, is important, and I think government should be helping people and not standing in the way once that they've served their time and they get out into our community. Because the biggest reason that we have recidivism is people that are unemployed, that they can't find a job. So if the government is standing in the way of them getting that job, I think it hurts us, because then that person might reoffend, and then we'll end up paying $40,000 to keep them in prison when we could have had them out with their families, being good community stewards and paying taxes.
According to the U.S. 2018 census data, the highest poverty rate was found among Native Americans with 25.4%, African Americans at 20.8%, Hispanics with 17.6%, with whites at 10.1%, and Asians with also 10.1%.
Some believe the justice system is fair and has been working for so long, why change it?
One person writes a check and skips the punishment while the other one serves their time. It's not fair. We need a justice system that treats everyone equally, no matter their race or how much money they have.
The burden falls most heavily on communities of color. Black Americans are more likely than whites to be arrested, wrongfully convicted, and given harsher sentences for exactly the same crimes. Time to reform the system from front to back.
Solving this problem will elevate everyone.